Hasbro has dropped pre-orders for a new wave of Marvel Legends. What do I think? And is this the end of Build-A-Figures? More importantly, would that be so bad? Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation. I'm Jason, and today I'd like to articulate my thoughts on the newest wave of Marvel Legends. For those of you who don't know, a new wave has just gone up for pre-order, and this one has a gimmick. Instead of Build-A-Figure pieces, this wave comes on blister cards with miniature comics. Not real comics, tiny plastic rectangles with comic covers printed on them. From what I've seen, the response has been understandably mixed. Hasbro has been making fewer and fewer Build-A-Figure waves, and this just feels like another step toward phasing them out completely. I want to talk about that and how I feel about the Build-A-Figure situation, but I also want to talk about these mini comics and just how I feel about the actual individual releases. First things first, let me just be completely upfront. I am not a fan of this gimmick. Not only am I not a fan, but I think it's unnecessary and taking away from accessories that we otherwise could have gotten. Before I go there though, how did we get here? When Toy Biz launched Marvel Legends, they were hyper-articulated figures with custom bases and comic books. At a time when a lot of these characters weren't appearing in movies or TV shows, that was really helpful. Eventually, Toy Biz switched over from diorama pieces to Build-A-Figures, but the comics remained. When Hasbro took over the license, they continued the Build-A-Figures, kind of, but the figures no longer came with comics and now were on blister cards. It took a few years, but eventually Hasbro did find their groove. Collector-friendly window boxes, Build-A-Figure pieces, and character-specific accessories were the order of the day. The last few years though, they've been kind of moving away from that. This started with their retro card waves. The first ones were modeled off the old Toy Biz Marvel Superheroes line, but then we started getting retro cards based off the classic X-Men figures, followed by Spider-Man, the animated series, and others as well. This seemed like a fair workaround for being able to give us figures without the BAF pieces. But then they started to branch out. Instead of just animated series style Spider-Man figures, they might have had newer characters on more modern style retro cards. The waves were mixed and matched, so it still kind of went together, but then they started doing that for Spider-Man movies like No Way Home or Across the Spider-Verse. Then they did it for X-Men the animated series. These were new cards that weren't based on any nostalgia, but were still ways of giving us figures without Build-A-Figure pieces. A lot of us didn't care for that, but we have kind of gotten used to it. But Spider-Man and X-Men are specific sub-series of Marvel Legends. For this shift over to blister cards to work, they needed something broader. They started with Marvel Secret Wars, which encompasses a lot of different characters, but notice that while those figures didn't have BAF pieces, they did still have a built-in gimmick. That being everyone coming with a lenticular shield. I bring that up because these new mini comics are the gimmick that they're building this new wave around. And don't get me wrong, the idea of pairing a Marvel Legend with a comic makes sense, but not a little plastic one for the characters just to hold. Honestly, if they want to have Marvel Legends waves without Build-A-Figure pieces, fine. I might not love it, but I'd be okay with it if the characters came with all the accessories that they could. By including these comics though, we're taking away from the accessories that could otherwise be coming with the figures. To show you what I mean, let's dig into the actual wave. Ultimate Iron Man is a great example of what I'm talking about. On the surface, this is a brand new sculpt and a very nice looking figure. I never personally got into Ultimate Iron Man, but I still think it looks good. In addition to the mini comic, he has a pair of accessory holding hands and a pair of blast hands. What's missing though? Blasts! Obviously, there is no shortage of blast effects we could pull from other Iron Man figures in our collection, but if that mini comic wasn't there, they totally could have included them. One of the ones I'm looking the most forward to is Adam Warlock. I love that he has the staff and an alternate Infinity Gauntlet, but while I like the grimacing face he comes with, an alternate static one would have been nice. It would also be really nice if they could just update that Vulcan body mold to not have the seam lines on the forearms. A character like this really brings into focus that just should not be there. One that I'm not all that excited for, but I know some of you like, is Daken. I personally just never got into Dark Avengers. I do like the unmasked head sculpt and the tattoos, but again, if I was a fan of Daken, I probably would have preferred more hands instead of that comic. Looking at the hands he comes with though, and it's kind of annoying that they aren't symmetrical. You've either got the 3 blades, or one hand with 2 blades and another hand with none. If this was a character I was looking forward to, I probably would have wanted a set of hands for each option. 3, 2, and none. In fact, it just kind of feels like the comic is a stand-in for a hand in general. Adam Warlock comes with 3 hands. Banshee has 3 hands. To his credit, he also has the Screaming Head, and I will say that's one of the ones I'm the most excited for, mainly because I just want to finish that giant-sized X-Men 1 team, but most egregiously, Miles Morales only comes with 3 extra hands. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but when it comes to Spider-Man, 2 fists, 2 wall crawlers, and 2 thwippies, that needs to be the standard. And then in Miles' case, you really need those electrified Venom Strike hands. He does come with an alternate Miles head, which I really appreciate, but now that I've seen the full solicitation images, he's the one I'm the most let down by. Ever since we got the Amazing Fantasy 15 body, I just really wanted a Miles on that with all the hands and heads you could want, but here they just went in to give him burthen hips and a wide saddle, and I just don't get it. Definitely frustrating. Hopefully we'll be able to minimize it when posing him, and then also hopefully this isn't just them giving us a placeholder to tide us over till a maximum version. The cynical part of me though says that's exactly what's happening. For me, the standout of the wave might just be ROM. I'll be honest, I never got into the character, but it's a cool toy, and between the hands and the blasters, it just kind of feels like the best value of the 6. There's also lots of new sculpting, and it does appear like he's going to be painted silver instead of just being marbleized plastic, which I'm very happy to see. So then, how do I feel about this instead of, say, Build-A-Figure waves? This might shock you, but I'm okay with it. I love Build-A-Figures, and I know it's a really big part of the brand, but as these figures just keep getting more and more expensive, I have to be choosier and choosier, and while I do concede that the lore of a Build-A-Figure is a great way of getting characters out there that might not sell otherwise, that sting to my wallet is getting harsher and harsher. I really wanted Zabu, so I bought that entire wave, but half those figures I could not have cared less about. If you like them, great, I'm happy for you. At this point though, I'd rather just have more standard Marvel Legends figures with lots of character-specific accessories, and then bigger characters as deluxes. But that's just me. How do you feel about it? Are you excited for this new wave? Do you like the comic gimmick? Tell me everything in the comments below. If you like this video, check out one of these. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.